You were just talking about Springer, and a lot of Met fans want Springer because Springer is one of the best defensive, offensive center fielders in baseball. But I was speaking to a bunch of Met fans, and a lot of Met fans think he's not going to get more than $150 million. Now, Springer has come out and said with his agent that he wants 175 or more. What do you think he is going to get in the open market?
I just want to say for the record that I would also like 175 million. So you can just make the check out to Matt Musico. But I mean, it's the same thing. Like, remember when JD Martinez was a free agent and Scott Boras was asking for $200 million? It's like, like you can, or the same thing with even Real Muto this year. It's like, like say whatever you want. Like that, this is kind of like how this works. Like you say what you really would want, but know that you're not going to get. And then, the team's going to come in at the other end of the spectrum. He's going to meet somewhere in the middle. So, I mean, like, I wouldn't be surprised if he ended up with probably like 150, just because he's probably asked for 175, thinking he'll eventually get down to 150. I think the Blue Jays offer them, I think the rumor is like 5 years for 125 million or something like that. So it's like, okay, like that's probably where the bar is, because I don't think anybody else is like seriously pursuing him at this point, at least with his current market, from what we know. So, I mean, if the Mets end up going after him and like actually signing him, I think probably 150 makes the most sense. But if the Mets aren't going to be in on it, I don't think he's going to get 150.
So who are some under the radar free agents that you might want to use that remaining $30-40 million, whatever they want to stay under the luxury tax? Who are some under the radar free agents, whether it's a relief pitcher, like you were saying, a center fielder, maybe even more starting depth that you think they should go after? Well, I mean, thinking about up the middle, because the Mets have actually focused on up the middle defense this year, which has been pretty refreshing with McCann and Lindor now. They traded away Rosario and Jimenez was one of their better middle infield defenders. So if they wanted to try and bolster some of that depth, they got guys like Tommy La Stella, Jonathan Villar, who are interesting. But at the same time, and I think Sandy said it last week when they had announced the trade, they'd still have Luis Guillorme, who can kind of play anywhere within the infield and has a great glove. So I'm not too sure that's going to be too much of a focus for them. But when we're thinking about center field, I think some natural ones would be like Jackie Bradley Jr. That would make sense. Maybe bringing back Jake Marisnick as like a bench player and actually be on the bench. And maybe like Kevin Pillar, Brian Goodwin, some more like glove first kind of guys, because even I love Brandon Nimmo. I know if you go on like the dark places of Mets Twitter, people think Brandon Nimmo is a fourth outfielder, but he's not. He's just not a center fielder. I think he should be in left field, and hopefully we have the DH so Dom Smith can DH and share it with Polar Bear. But it would be nice to have an actual natural center fielder, and that's what's most attractive. That was what has been most attractive to me for going after Springer, because yes, he's got the offense, it's great, but he's also like you guys said before, he's got the defense. He's actually a natural center fielder. Like, it would be really nice to just have Nimmo and Conforto both in the corners doing things in spots where they're actually supposed to be, and having a real center fielder. With regard to the bullpen, I mean, at this point, I think they're probably just going to end up going for a lot of those, real minor signings. It's just some minor league signings with the spring training invite, just to see what sticks. I can't remember. Maybe you can help me out with this. Who is the guy that they just picked up? It was a left-hander from the Yankees that they claimed off waivers. What was his name?
Brandon Drury.
No, pitcher.
A pitcher from the Yankees?
Wasn't it the reliever from the Yankees? I can't remember off the top of my head.
Shreve, you're talking about?
They had Shreve last year. I don't remember who the Mets.
Was it like Aaron Rupley? Was that a name? Is that a name? I think that might be his name, actually.
Helen Patansis, I remember. That was last year.
Oh, Stephen Tarpley.
Stephen Tarpley. So I was completely wrong. but like,
right. Tarpley's all right.
Yeah, he's got like electric stuff though, and I think like some people are talking about. So it'll be interesting to see like what they do from here to kind of fill the holes for the bullpen, or just like fill the depth in for the bullpen and fill the depth in for the rotation. I mean, there's still a lot of arms out there, so it'll be interesting to see exactly which way that they go. And there are a lot of interesting names out there. I would love to see them maybe try and go after like a couple of
left-handed starters, just because there's really no reason why I like this. Maybe because I throw left-handed myself, but like I think it's just nice to have a left-handed pitcher in a rotation just to give teams a different look instead of having a bunch of righties. So like, guys like Gio Gonzalez maybe at the very back end, or Carlos Rodon, just to see like what's going on with him, just because he had that pedigree but hasn't really panned out since he's gotten into the majors. So I think things like that, those types of signings could be interesting, just to kind of create some competition and see what can happen. Because even though Steven Matz is better than what he did in 2020, I don't feel really super confident about him just being able to magically turn it around.
As you guys know, we are talking to Mets Mirage writer Matt Musico. Now, Matt, this is a two-part question. Noah Syndergaard. Now, there are stories coming out that he'll probably be back in June or July. What do you expect from him coming back from Tommy John's? Question one. And number two, are you surprised the market is as low as it is right now for professional baseball and the contracts?
Well, what do I expect from Noah Syndergaard? I expect him to be handsome, to have long hair still, and try and do everything possible without a shirt on. I think those three, it's like the first trifecta right there. It'll be interesting to see how he responds from everything. I mean, I've generally thought he's mostly like a freak of nature, it seems like to me. I mean, outside of his lat is like the only human part of him, I guess. But I feel like anything they get from him will be a bonus, and hopefully they're operating in that kind of sense. It would be nice if he was just coming in and kind of like back to his old self, maybe like mid-3 ERA or something, in like 60, 70, 80 innings or something like that. And if they do make the playoffs and be able to be fresh enough to, maybe be a fireman out of the bullpen, or kind of piggyback with somebody else that started a game or something like that, I think that could be interesting. I'm excited to have him back. I missed him last year just because I thought he would never get Tommy John just because he was not human. But just like out of nowhere, that was like the most nonchalant like Tommy John surgery announcement ever too. It's like, oh, like the season's canceled pretty much, but we're also going to get Tommy John surgery. It's like the Mets didn't even play and they still lost. But like such is life under the Wilpons. So hopefully that will be different this year. But,
the coupons.
Yeah, the coupons, definitely. And then help me out here because I only do one thing at a time. Multitasking.
Are you surprised right now with the threshold the way it is with the contracts? Are you surprised the contracts are being offered so low? I mean, you talk about we talk about what Francisco Lindor is going to be expecting next year for $300 million. We saw last year the Yankees gave Garrett Cole $326 million. We also saw a $400 million player, almost a $500 million player last year. Are you surprised right now that guys like Springer is only going to get between 125, 150 million when he's one of the best center fielders in baseball?
I think it's disappointing because probably more often than not, most of the teams can swing something like that. Mm-hmm. It comes down to a supply and demand issue too. I mean, we think about Garrett Cole, like I don't remember what his market was like, but pretty much everyone who had money to spend wanted him. Mm-hmm. And when you think about someone like Springer, it's like, okay, like from what we know of right now, let's say like, I don't know, 3 teams would really want him. Mets, Blue Jays, and I guess maybe the Red Sox too. I mean, I haven't really heard too much else about interested teams in him, and you guys can add more teams in if you've heard more than I have. But I think that's kind of what it comes down to, which is unfortunate, just because I think some of it's like a little bit of a load of baloney with some of these owners crying poor. But they're trying to kind of, I think, milk the situation as much as they can in this particular respect, just because this past year was weird. Who knows what this upcoming year is going to look like? It seems like it's going to start on time, but they're pushing to not have it start on time. The owners are. Who knows how many fans are going to be in the stands and whatnot. So, I mean, like, I get it. It makes sense. And it's just an unfortunate time for a number of these players to be entering the free agent market the way that the way that things are. But, if George Springer really wasn't happy with what he was getting, I mean, he could make that ballsy type of move and be like, I'm just going to take a 1-year show me deal and just, light the world on fire and then go back even though he'd be a 32-year-old, I think that would make it a little bit more difficult. But for a lot of these guys, it's like for someone like him, I mean, I'd be happy with 150, 125 million. I'd be happy with $1 million. But I mean, for someone like him, he's worked his entire career to get to free agency. So a lot of these guys think like this, I may not get this chance again. I got to try and secure the bag as much as I can.
So just your perspective now, as a Mets fan growing up, your favorite player, your favorite under the radar player, and your favorite game or a notable game that you went to, attended live.
Well, I confessed on Twitter the other day that Ray Ordonez was my first favorite Met. I hated watching him hit, but I loved watching him field. Although I did enjoy his like annual home run that he had every year. That was like an event in itself, and it was always a surprise. From that particular era, because that was like the first time I really started to like pay attention, because I was, how old? I don't know, like 10, 11, 12 years old at that point. So like I was watching and also retaining knowledge of the Mets too. But loved Edgardo Alfonso. John Olerud never gets enough love, and I've always loved him. I enjoyed watching Joe McEwing rough up Randy Johnson every so often whenever they faced him, which was always hilarious and made no sense, but it was just perfect way to sum up baseball. And once the Mets signed Cliff Floyd, I was like madly in love with him for whatever reason. I don't know why. I still am. I just think he's the man. He's hilarious. But I mean, like I would say probably those few, and from like the 2000 team, Timo Perez and Jay Payton were really cool. I love those guys too. But then they all kind of like
Billy Wagner. You don't like Billy Wagner?
Billy Wagner's cool. I mean, he's all right. Like
I'm a Yankee fan, by the way. I'm a Yankee fan, by the way.
Well, I'm sorry to hear that. That's the first time I've ever actually said that. It'll be gone probably like in May when the Mets are on their first 5-game losing streak. It'll be gone. So I just need to like maximize my opportunity here to do this.
Well, Mark, Matt, you know what's so funny? I have a friend named Mark Music. That's his last name, Music. And when I pronounced your name, Musico, and then he says it's Musico, I was like, why couldn't you sound it out or do something? So you look like my friend Mark too. You guys are identical. It's so funny.
You're very handsome. So that's.
But Matt, why don't you tell the fans how they can find you, find your writing, and find your stories?
Yeah, so all my Mets related stuff is on MetsMerizedOnline.com. You can find me on Twitter at mmusico8, and also on Instagram at mmusico8. Much more active on Twitter. I think Twitter is much more fun than Instagram, anyways, too. But yeah, that's where you can find me.
Well, we definitely want to get you on again. We want you to be a friend of the show. We want you to download our app. Come on, Matt.
Well, I mean, I was gonna postpone the start of our interview so I could do that. You kind of sold me there.
But we want you to download our app. We want you to be a friend of the show. We would love to get you on a couple of times this year, talk a little Mets baseball, your thoughts of where the team is going, where they're heading, what player sticks out to you, where they at the trade deadline, who they're going to trade for. So we love it. By the way, we have a bunch of fans that are big fans of your writing. So the one thing Jillian told me that we were going to get you on the show, she says, I love his writing. So she's a big fan of yours too, and she's a Met fan. So we'd love to get you on again. Your stories are great, and you're very talented, my friend.
Well, hey, I appreciate it. And I always joke around with sports writing, say, you're doing a good job when nobody calls you an idiot on Twitter. So it's nice to hear people say nice things. So I really appreciate that, and appreciate you guys reading. And yeah, I enjoy this tonight, and hope to come back as much as you want me to.
Absolutely. We'd love to get you on and be our Mets guy. By the way, everybody calls me an idiot anyways, even if I don't write anything.
For the 3 times a year you're on Twitter.
You know what's funny, Matt? I have like 1,400 people that follow me, and I might post one thing every 3 months.
Well, that one thing must be really good. I'm going to have to go look at it now.
You can follow me. I'll follow you. I'll follow you back. I'll have my producer send it to you through text message. We really appreciate you, and we're going to be in touch with you very, very soon.
All right, great. Thanks a lot, guys. Take care.